is how you start a video, guys, right there. Alright guys, welcome back to part 2 series. Alright, so this is Black Fox Outdoors. And like I said, this is Bass Fishing 101. We're trying to get down to the just bare basics for people who's new or people who just, you know, maybe didn't understand completely, try to open their eyes to some new things. So we didn't really have enough time to cover the spinning rods and stuff like that in the last video. I feel like we covered the bait casters pretty good, so I want to make sure and touch on this real quick because it's not going to take long to go over the baits. So like I said, as far as the spin cast, stuff like that, I mean, it's a little bit different beast. Whenever you go to cast, I'll let you look. I usually, you know, make sure to pull the line where it's on top of the reel, and you can grab it with your finger and just open the spool and you can hold the line there. Now when you cast, all you got to do is let go and it'll just peel off there, okay? Make sure, I always flip the bell over myself with my own hand instead of just reeling it and making it. It seems like it's less wear and tear on your reels to me. Now, when you buy these, I'll show you the drag too while we're here. Now this right here is going to be your drag. So left loosens the drag, it lets it slide easier. Right tightens it up and keeps it from spinning as much. So as far as the handle, a lot of times when you get these spinning reels, the handles are on the left side. I don't know why everybody likes to fish backwards, or their companies put it out backwards, but that's what I tell them anyways. But all you have to do is unscrew the end right there and take it off, and the handle will actually slide right out, and then just slip it in on the other side, screw it back down, and you're good to go, and you're back fishing with your right hand. If you like fishing left-handed, you do what you like. But right hand is more comfortable to me. So another thing that is a huge tip that, you know what, I'd recommend to you guys, whether you're on a boat or whether you're on the bank, I don't care what you're doing, pond fishing, river fishing, lake fishing, one of the big things that I really like to do is I take braid, and we're talking like 15 to 20 pound braid, maybe even 30. If you look on the braid, you know, a lot of times the diameter is actually smaller than the line that you would put on. So you could put on, like, I'm pretty sure this might be 15 or 20 pound, and it's going to be like 6 pound diameter. Now if you have smaller line, which is what these are designed for, and if you remember the last video I said that I recommend like 8 to 10 pound, well, that 8 pound, 6 pound, they're going to cast a mile off these reels. I mean, they cast good, they just throw good with that light line. Now when you go down to braid, you're going to be able to cast out, but if you guys remember from the last video, you're going to get a lot of twist. And here's the reason. If you look down this reel, you see that the spool is actually sideways. So every time it comes off this way, and your bait's in line this way. So every time it spins, it's twisting your line. Now if you put braid on there, braid's not really going to twist that much, and braid don't really have that much memory. I mean, time to time I'll go ahead and pull it out and kind of try to pull a little bit of the twist out, but it don't really matter. It's not going to hurt this braid. This braid right here is probably 2 years old and I haven't changed it. So when you get to the rods, I'll go ahead and back off and show you guys again. I like my rods, you know, bend, if it's a general, and this is just a general basic rod here, I like my bend to be higher up because that kind of gives you more backbone when you need to set that hook. You can make sure and jerk that hook in that fish's mouth. And you know, a lot of the ones that you're going to buy at Walmart or something like that, they're going to be, you know, they're going to look like a switch when you go out there and whip them. So, you know, my bait caster stuff, I really like fishing my Falcon rods, but I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, you need to go buy, you know, a $250 rod, and that's the only way you're going to catch bass. Me, I mean, it's all about the money. I've saved up, and I've fished enough, and I kind of justified it in my mind that, you know, the couple rods I got that I spent, you know, a lot of money on, I like them, I use them a lot, but, you know, you don't have to do that to go catch fish, and if anybody tells you that, they're lying. So one of our sponsors, American Tackle, if you guys get on their website, check them out, they've usually got really good deals. I mean, they've got deals on spinning rods, they got them on bait caster rods, and I think they're actually starting to start bringing out reels, so you might look in the next couple months for reels coming out, and they'll have combos and stuff like that. But I mean, they've got some really good rods and stuff, and that's where you see the micro eyes and stuff like that. Like, they're a custom rod building company and sell all the components, so I mean, they ship out some really good deals. And if you guys watch our Facebook, if you're not already on Facebook, make sure you get on there. But if you guys watch our Facebook, time to time we'll be posting promo codes, so whenever they give us something, a post to give you guys a chance to save a little money. Now back to kind of the spin cast fishing here. Like I said, with the braid, I put the braid on there. It's up to you if you want to fish braid to the hook. I don't really like fishing braid to the hook. I mean, I'm kind of funny like that. I like fishing braid, but I don't like fishing to the hook. So I will always fish a leader. So I'll get like maybe 8 to 10 pound fluorocarbon or something like that, and I'll actually link them together. And that kind of right there kind of shows you. Now, if we have time in the video, I'll try to go through and show you guys the knots that I tie to link these together. But the one thing that I want you to take away from this, braid loves to slip. You know, sometimes it'll be perfect, sometimes it won't. So we use super glue like it's going out of style in my boat. So here's a little tech tip for you. When you get your real small knot tied, if you'll take just a little bit of that gel super glue and just kind of make sure and just put it on there, that holds that knot together, and that knot's not coming undone. So your braid's not going to slip and your knot's going to stay all tight. And then you can come down and you know, have your bait on, fish your bait, whatever, and then, you know, you got that peace of mind that maybe the fish is not going to see the braid as much as the line. Now, do I think it makes that much difference? You know what, I think if the fish is hungry, he's hungry. I don't really think it's going to matter a whole lot if there's braid holding on to his food or regular line, but, you know, sometimes I think it does make a little bit of difference. So in my mind, it helps me fish better. So do what you're comfortable with. Okay guys, so for the first baits that I would recommend, and I would, you know, like you guys to learn to fish, is obviously jigs. Now we might be being a little bit biased here whenever I say Black Fox Outdoors jigs, but guys, we've got some pretty nice jigs. I'm pretty proud of what we got in stock now and what we're selling. So I mean, there's a lot of people that's loving our jigs. So what you see so far, that's Super Crawl, PB&J. This here's the Jawbreaker. This right here is just green pumpkin. I mean, there's just green pumpkin by itself. And if you're new and you're just looking for that jig, and you know what, I don't know what color, because there's a million different variations if I can talk here, but this right here is a pretty good, just down basic jig. I mean, it's a natural color and it's going to get bit. This is our Deadly Perch. As you can see, I mean, she's got some good colors in it. Candy Grass. A lot of people that's bought a lot of our jigs still likes the Candy Grass. This one here's a Showstopper. It's a pretty nice looking jig. And as far as our heads, we got round, arky, and football. It seems like we sell mostly football. So I mean, there's Purple Midnight, and then of course the old black and blue beast there. So this is our jigs and what we sell right now. So now let's get into a little bit more depth of jigs. So this here is one of my personal jigs. Just kind of went ahead and broke it out of my jig box to give you an idea and show you. All of our jigs that we sell them long. And I know I say that all the time, but I just want you guys to be clear. Don't be afraid to trim them up. You can see I've trimmed this baby up. I like the claws to really, or you know, the claws or the tails, whatever you got on the back as a trailer, I like them to be able to just have a lot of action and not be held up by the strands. And also having that shorter shorter skirt will actually make it flare out more in the water, so to kind of give it that flare out look, and it'll be standing up in that defensive crawl position that's going to make a bass eat it. So jigs is kind of like one of those baits, guys, that it's number one on my list, whether it's our jigs or whether it's somebody else's jigs. You guys need to learn to fish jigs, okay? Because jigs is good for hot water, cold water, raining, sunny, just about every possibility, time of the year, whatever. I mean, jigs are good year-round, and I mean, they get bit. They've been proven all over the country. I mean, there's been some big fish caught on jigs. As you can see, I mean, our fish are starting to move out deep, so I mean, we've got a 3/4 ounce football here. But I mean, a lot of times, if you're just starting out, I would probably recommend a 3/8 or half, and you know, stick to the banks, work your way out. You ain't got to go out and fish deep. You know, you can fish these smaller jigs up close to the bank and still get bit. Now, get a trailer that's, you know, you can either cut them down, or, you know, as you can see here, we got the OZ Crawl from Zoom. You know, I've took these before and, you know, cut them in half and threaded them on the hook. So there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, so if you guys don't have to go out and buy special trailers, whatever. I mean, whenever I was fishing, I used to fish a lot of crawls, and stuff like that. And whenever I tear them up from catching fish, well, I'd throw them down the bottom of the boat, and that was jig trailers. So I'd just tear off where they was messed up, and then they was perfect jig trailers then. So I mean, you guys can do whatever you want to do on that. Colors, like I said, it's pretty general. I would stick with at least a black and blue, and I would get one of our green pumpkins. That's going to cover every situation that you're going to come across. I mean, fish the brown one. If the brown one don't get bit, fish the black and blue one. If it don't get bit, just stay with those colors, guys. They're going to get bit somewhere. Now, jig is something that you're going to have to tie on, and you're going to have to fish. You're going to have to learn how to fish it. So when you get out in the water, I mean, the best thing that I can tell you when you're going to fish this is, you know, think about a crawdad. I don't know how many guys have seen crawdads and stuff like that in creeks, whatever. And you know what? If you haven't, I encourage you to go look. Go to a local creek and start flipping rocks over. Look how they act. Look kind of how they move around, how they hide in the rocks, near brush or whatever. I mean, they're just kind of, they slow, you know, ease around. Now, wintertime, you need to go just super slow and give her a pause every once in a while, I would say. Summertime, I mean, you can get it out and you can shake it around a little bit. You can kind of hop it. You know, when a crawdad takes off or a crawfish takes off fast, it's usually kind of got like a little double hop. Okay, now when you hop that rod, a little bit here is a lot down at the end of that line, so you remember that whenever you're popping that. It just, two small little pops is gonna make that thing jump, and it's gonna look like crawfish fleeing or trying to get away. If that bass is nosed up on it, he's just gonna eat it. Get ready to set the hook. Now, as far as the hook set, as far as the bite, there's gonna be two types of bites that you're gonna get from bass. You're gonna get one that's gonna feel like a double tap, and you're gonna get one that's gonna feel like it got hit by a hammer. So when you got either one of those bites, you know, I know you guys all watch the Elite Pros. Yeah, do what they do. Swing on that dude like, you know, you're trying to break his head off. Set that hook, get it in there, he's not gonna come out. Keep pressure on your line, that fish is gonna come to the boat. Now, when you start dealing with, if you get there and you feel like, it feels like a little machine gun is like attacking that thing, and it's just shaking that repeatedly and not letting loose, 9 times out of 10 that's a perch. Now it's up to you if you want to go ahead and swing to make sure that it wasn't a fish, or if you want to go ahead and leave it there. A lot of times if I feel it just constantly just a little bit shakes and it's not really to me like a bass bite, and you'll learn the difference in a bass bite and a perch. But a lot of times I don't try to go ahead and set the hook because they've got a tail on your crawl or whatever, and that's going to tear your claw off, and you're going to put a new trailer on. So jigs, good. You know, fish them. Don't give up on them. It's going to be a little bit slow at first until you get down and get the you know, the hang of it. So let's go on to shaky heads. Okay, shaky heads, guys. We also have shaky heads. There's a million different things that you can do with these shaky heads. I love them. We catch a lot of fish on them. You know, bite gets tough if you're taking your kids. This is just a good all-around bait. So we sell these in 3-packs, and I mean, there's like I said, there's a million things you can do with them. We've got the screw lock, so just put whatever you're going to use, whether it was a crawl, ribbon-tail worm, Senko, any kind of creature bait, you know, whatever. You just thread that on there, and you know, a lot of people will stick their hook in like this. I like to go ahead and Texas rig mine. That's just me. Personal preference. You guys try it however you want to try it, however you think it's going to get you bit, and you're going to have the best luck. But me, I like the Texas rig. Now, when you work this, it's going to be kind of slow like you would work the jig. Okay, you just kind of drag it. If you do shake it, I know a lot of people get kind of too excited about the shaking part just because of the name. I don't necessarily shake it when I work it, but when you do shake it, if you're wanting to kind of give it a little more action, the only thing you should be shaking is the slack in the line. Do not try to shake the bait. When you shake it, you try to keep that in your mind that you want to keep that bait in the same place and just shake the slack. Now what that'll do is just make that tail dance, and they're going to come by and hit it. A lot of times you can throw it in, you can cast, make a cast in, and as it's going down they'll hit it. Now if you cast in and you look over and your line's running off left or right, you better reel up and set the hook and get ready. You got a fish on. So that one's pretty simple there, and like I said, it's a pretty versatile bait. I mean, you can fish whatever you want to fish. And it's just the same as having a ribbon tail worm. I mean, this just would be no different than a Texas rig or anything like that. Crawl, I mean, you can put it right on there and just drag it through the rocks real slow. I mean, they're going to eat it. It gets bit. So while we're already on that, the other thing that we have is swing heads. And guys, I seem to fall more and more in love with these swing heads every day. These things, it's kind of another one of those baits that you can just put anything on there and it's just going to catch fish. You know, we put ribbon tail worms. A lot of times we'll use like 10-inch worms or 12-inch worms or crawls. Usually you want something with a lot of action in the summertime, and I mean, it's kind of more summertime is when I would like to use it per se. But thread it on there like you're rigging it up for Texas rig. Get it on. Look where the hook needs to go. That's probably the best way to do it when you're trying to get the perfect, because you want your baits to be as straight as possible when you get this stuff on there. So when you look at it, you just want to see fairly straight. Now you see them tails are going to kick. Now this right here, if you're wanting to fish a little faster, or you know what, if you're getting brave enough, you start want to fish now at 10, 15 foot, or you know what, if you want to go out deeper, you know, and you know where the fish are. This right here is, to me, is in the same category as a crankbait. You get out the deep divers, to me this is the same category, and it still catches fish. I've went through and, you know, fished deep diving crankbaits, caught fish, and then come behind it with this right here and caught fish after they shut off on the crankbait. So it's a good bait. Always keep it tied on and it will catch you fish. And sometimes it'll catch you those fish whenever they shut off to that crankbait. But you tie it on, and as you see, it goes after its name, swing head. Whenever this is going through and it hits a rock or whatever, I mean, it just throws that bait everywhere. So in my eyes, what I think is going on is, you know, it's going to be semi-reaction bite, or if they just got a fish that's on it, following it, trying to decide if he needs to commit it or not, and you hit just right and it flares up or kicks out, whatever, that's just going to go ahead and make him bite it. So to me, that's kind of why it works so well, because, you know, just like our lake has been hit hard. I mean, this past few years, I mean, they have been just getting demolished. So things like that is, to me, it's kind of helps us catch a little more fish when we normally wouldn't when it gets tough. So the next thing is Texas rig, and then I'll actually show you the knot that we use about 90% of the time, and then the rigging on it. Okay guys, and here's the big time spool of line I was telling you guys about too. Here's the Trilene Big Game. And this happens to be 15 pound. So this is going to be our rod for today. Okay, so weights, you guys can use whatever weight you want. If you think you're going to be getting broke off a lot, or if you're going to be standing on a bank a lot, I would probably just go ahead and recommend you using lead, just because you can't go out and get unhung. But if you've got the spare money, or you're on a boat, I would say go ahead and step it up and get yourself into some Woo tungsten. Now, when you go to fishing tungsten versus lead, you know, I probably spent a good 10-15 minutes the very first time I switched to tungsten, swinging that rod, thinking I had a bite every rock I hit. I mean, the difference is that much. It's just like a telegraph versus, you know, I don't know. It just lets you know what's on the bottom, and, you know, hard contact, you're gonna feel everything. And if you got a decent rod, I mean, especially when that fish hits it, it's just gonna blow your mind, the difference in the bites. So whenever I rig up Texas rig, a lot of people will take bobber stops, and I think I have some right here. I'll show you. They'll take these bobber stops here and thread on actually before they even put the weight on. Now if you're flipping, yes, I will every time, but if I'm not flipping and I'm just wanting to fish Texas rig, I don't always put bobber stops on. Sometimes I like my weight to slide down, so it gives my bait just a little bit more time to just drift down to the bottom. A lot of people, you know, they want to say, well, when you're fishing brush, you're going to get hung up more because of weight and the hook, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I like that slow fall. I like that slow presentation. To me, I think that gets me more bites than having a quick fall. Now, there is a time and place for both. I mean, but if I'm looking for that quick fall, you better believe I'm going to have my flipping rod out, and it's going to be a flipping scenario. I ain't even going to be using my worm rod. So, hooks, if you guys are asking which hook to use, I'm going to tell you straight up, Mustad Ultralox is the absolute only way to go. Now, right out of the gate, you can look at this hook and you can see that everything is just flat and flush. I mean, it's all in line. It looks good. A lot of times this hook will double hook a fish. I know that sounds funny, but it'll usually punch through, come through, and end up hooking again. It's just, you know, a good majority of the time. I ain't gonna say it happens every time, but a good majority of the time. But this Mustad hook has not let me down. And then you got that Ultralox, which is the longer shank on it. That seems really nice. So kind of what you can do is you can tie your own knot. I mean, I know you guys get line, there's knots on there. What's usually easy and quick for me is just called the Palmer knot. So if you can see this, we'll try to tie it real quick. Just do like a regular overhand knot, and then the loop that's created, bring the whole hook through it, and then just cinch her down, you know, and get her kind of tight. Now fluorocarbon, be a little bit more careful, and you'll make sure and try to wet that line just a little bit to keep down on the friction. Tag in, you guys don't have to cut it off right next to the knot. You can leave a little bit. They don't see all the rest of your line in the water. Little tag ins are not going to bother them. So now this is what you've got. Okay, so you've got your worm weight that slides, your bullet weight, and then you've got your hook. Now whatever you want to put on this hook is completely up to you. You can fish Senko. I mean, you can put this on there and drag it around. You can put the ribbon-tail worm on there and drag it around. You know, you can put down crawls, whatever you want to do, and 9 times out of 10, I'll be honest with you, I use every one of these baits. That's why I've got them out and I showed you. So this here's by Yum. It's just one of their crawls. When you got the Ultralox, I'll actually thread it all the way down to the bend of the hook. Bring it out as center as possible. Bring it through, twist it, and then where you got it is just setting perfect in there. Now, go back, try to get a good idea where that hook needs to go, and then stab that baby in there. And like I said, do your best to keep it center, keep it level, and right there is what I'm talking about. Kind of see how it's completely straight. It looks good. It doesn't look abnormal or nothing like that. I mean, everything looks great. It looks in line. It just flows together. And also, whenever you skin hook that, keeps you from getting hung up. So until that bass hits. Once the bass hits, then it's go time, just like you see right there. So you can throw this stuff anywhere. You know, you can throw it in the rocks. You can throw it in the weeds if you want. You know, right now it's kind of early summer, and there's a lot of bass up in the weeds. So I mean, there's no problem with throwing this in the weeds, but if you go to the weeds and you're getting in that type of area, I would recommend a bobber stop. But if you're just going to fish brush piles, if you're going to fish rocks, that type of area, I would just leave it unpegged, because what's going to happen is when you throw it out, the weight is instantly going to go down and hit, and then your bait's just slowly going to, you know, its tail's going to be working. It's going to be working, and it's slowly going to drift down to the bottom to where it's going to set. And once you pull up, then that's when your weight's going to get there. You drag it or whatever you want to do. Now, like I said, you can use Z crawls, you can use the Yum. I mean, you can use Yum dingers. Just put them on as a Senko or ribbon-tail worms, creature baits, brush hogs. Texas rig is just one of those deals you can just use whatever you feel like you want to use. And like if you think you're on a crawfish bite or what, there you go. Use something like that. Use a creature bait. If you think you're going to be better with a worm or they're not biting the creature baits, then flip over to the worm. Now, let's say he bites, tears this worm up. I'm not going to tear this worm up because I want to reuse it later, probably later today. But a lot of times where you're going to get tore up is right up here in the nose of this. If it gets tore up, all you'll have to do is, you see right here, break it off. Pull that, break that off. Now what are you left with? Oh, imagine that. You're left with another jig trailer that's going to work. So you can see, wow, that's just perfect. And everything goes in line. And that saves you money in the long run, and you know, you get use out of plastics that's still got a little life in them. Alright guys, so this is the end of the video. Like I said, we wanted to cover the baits and stuff like that, part 2. I know we said we was going to the water, but I had to change plans. Wanted to make sure and cover the baits really good. Now you have a chance to ask questions, get in the comments, any questions on baits, how we work it, whatever. This next video, we're going to try to take it to the water, hopefully, and try to show you some of the stuff that we're fishing and how we're fishing it. So now you guys got our baits. You see how we rig our stuff. If you guys want some of our jigs, our swing heads, our shaky heads, get on Facebook, let us know, get a hold of us, and we'll get that shipped to you. Now, Texas rig, stuff like that. Now, Woo Tungsten, you have to get on woo.com with that, and American Tackle for the rods. So, I'll try to wrap this up pretty quick, and we'll meet you out on water in the next video, guys. Later.